4 important attachment styles in relationships that you need to know about. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dr. Vanessa Milagros, and I am a licensed mental health professional. On this channel, we talk about all things mental health, specifically focusing on anxiety, depression, and relationships. If you find this video interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel. The first attachment style being anxious preoccupied, the second attachment style being avoidant dismissive, the third being disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment, and the fourth being secure attachment. So let's talk about the anxious preoccupied attachment. Within this attachment, they have a negative sense of self or view of self and a positive view of others or the partner that they're in a relationship with. The thought of being alone causes high anxiety for them, and there's an intense fear of abandonment. And in this video, we won't necessarily get into the childhood attachment style since we're focusing on relationships. But if you want me to make a video on that, comment down below and I will be sure to do so. Now, what do individuals within the anxious preoccupied attachment style need within their relationships? And in order to reduce the fear of abandonment or perceived abandonment, right? Because it may not necessarily be abandonment per se, but they may view it as abandonment based on their past. So for instance, if somebody says, I just need a little bit of space, I need time to think and process things, the individual with the anxious preoccupied attachment may view that as abandonment. Well, you're leaving me. Why do you need space? So it's a perceived abandonment. So in order to reduce this fear, they need to feel secure within their relationship. And this is done through responsiveness, interaction, tension, and care. If they don't get this, they tend to be a little bit more clingy, maybe more demanding, desperate for the reassurance that they are loved and that you do care about them. Individuals with this attachment style do value their relationships, but there also is a hypervigilance within perceived threats to the security or the stability of that relationship, as well as some anxiety or worries about their partner not being as invested into the relationship as they are. Avoidant dismissive attachment style. Within this attachment style, the person has a positive view of self and more of a negative view of others. This means that they have a high need for independence, time alone, being self-reliant, specifically and especially on an emotional level. One of the core beliefs is that they don't need to depend on others and they don't need others to depend on them. They value their time alone and may become a little bit discomforted with big displays of emotions. They also do not want to feel as though they're being controlled or criticized within their relationships. That is an immediate, I am out of here for them. They check out. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And it may be no surprise, but they avoid intimacy and emotional closeness within their relationships and may even withdraw from relationships if they feel as though the other person is becoming reliant on them or emotionally just too close. They also tend to suppress their emotions when faced with conflict. Now, it's not that they don't need to feel closeness or loved or cared for by others. That's not it. It's just that they've learned how to meet their own needs from a very young age and become self-sufficient in that. And they've learned how to do that through something that we term deactivating strategies. So in a sense, they learn how to deactivate certain parts of their emotional needs or desires within relationships in order to survive throughout their life. That's just how they've learned how to do things. And so as an adult within a relationship, it comes out and they in turn deactivate their need for closeness within relationships. And they do this to protect themselves, right? On some level, we're all wanting to protect a part of ourselves from possible hurt or pain or discomfort. And so the way that this attachment style, how it's done, is through deactivating. So that looks like suppressing any distressing thoughts, feelings, emotions, or memories. Examples of this can be seen through rejecting physical closeness within their relationships, refusing to commit, but yet staying in relationship, or breaking up when things get too serious. Individuals with this specific attachment style need someone who's going to be there for them, support them, do what they say they're going to do. And this is not just inclusive of romantic relationships. This is also within their family relationships, their friendships. Having someone who is supportive, not criticizing or not trying to control them or even get something from them, but just to be there to help support. So again, that thought process of I don't need you and you don't need me. But there is a desire for that support without wanting anything in return. Let's talk about disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style. Within this style, individuals tend to go from anxious to avoidant depending on their moods and the situation. And the behaviors may come across as confusing to other people, specifically within their romantic relationships. And this is because that person and that relationship can be viewed as something they desire and really want, but also something that they fear immensely. So, for example, they want the physical closeness and the intimacy, but they fear the rejection and getting hurt at the end. That's why they have a difficult time trusting others. They struggle to identify and even regulate their emotions, and therefore avoid developing strong emotional attachment due to the fear of abandonment, the fear of getting hurt. They tend to fear that they don't deserve love or the emotional closeness with someone else. It's also safe to say that they probably have never learned how to self-soothe within their emotions. So self-soothing includes learning how to feel the different emotions that come up for you and learn healthy ways to cope with those emotions and process through them in healthy ways. So if you don't develop the understanding from a young age of how to self-soothe and process your emotions, the world, relationships, those can be very frightening and feel very unsafe. And if you've experienced abuse as a child, you may actually try to replicate the same patterns of abuse within your relationship. So, an example of that includes being insensitive to your partner's needs, selfishness, controlling, untrusting. And these things can lead to explosive behaviors and outbursts. You can also be just as hard on yourself as you are on others. Someone with this attachment style could really benefit from having someone who is there to support them and listen to them and communicate with them, but also has very strong and firm boundaries of things that they will and will not tolerate. They also need someone who's going to give them space to learn how to process and self soothe. And this can be done through doing your own therapy and your own personal growth to learn how to self soothe and process through your emotions and understand more about yourself and how you are within your relationships. And then taking it a step further, improving through your behaviors, through how you communicate, through how you listen, through how you handle conflict. All of these things and more can be learned through therapy and time and effort and consistency. Last but not least, secure attachment. The goal is to get to a secure attachment space or secure attached style within our relationships. And the good news is that we all can get there. It is possible. You're not stuck to the attachment style that you have today. And there are things that you can do to help, which I'm going to get into in a few minutes. But let's talk about secure attachment. Within this attachment style, you're open to expressing your emotions in healthy ways. You can depend on your partner and you allow your partner to rely and depend on you. You don't fear being alone. You have a positive view of self and a positive view of others. Therefore, you don't seek the external validation or approval of others. You can identify and regulate your emotions and at times help your partner do the same. Now, having secure attachment doesn't mean that you're perfect and you never have any bad days or bad moments, but it does mean that you're able to reassess, apologize, forgive, and move forward. You're willing to take responsibility for your own actions and mistakes, and you're also willing to seek help and support when you need it. The good news is we can all work towards a secure attachment style, and you are not boxed in to the attachment style that you have today. Here are a few things to help you get to a secure attachment style. Number one, therapy. Working with a therapist is really going to be helpful here because you're going to be able to learn about yourself, your past, how you relate to others within your relationships, how you view the world. Is it frightening? Is it unsafe? Can you not trust? How do you process emotions when they come up? How do you deal with them? How do you deal with conflict? I could go on and on and on. Therapy is so beneficial, especially if you find a great therapist that you click with so that you can actually start to work on those things and develop in those areas. And then in turn, that's going to help your romantic relationships, your friendships, your family relationships, all of the important areas within your life. Next is through doing your own personal learning, reading books on attachment styles, understanding your attachment style, and how to get to a more secure attachment style, practicing these things. If we stop learning, we stop growing. There's never someone who gets to the point of life and says, okay, I can stop learning now. I'm okay. I've reached the pinnacle. No, you haven't. There's always more that we can learn and we can develop within ourselves. So take the time to do this. You can read, audiobooks, podcasts are great. videos on YouTube like this one. And if you're not already subscribed, I would really appreciate if you did. Things like this are going to help you within your journey of self-discovery, self-healing, self-growth. The next tip is to develop a secure attachment and love within yourself first. The belief sometimes is that, oh, if I have someone that I'm in a relationship with who is secure, then I will learn how to be secure. That's not necessarily the case. It's important for you to develop that secure attachment and love within yourself first, because what happens is once you do that, you attract other individuals with a more secure attachment, and you're able to also be healthy for them as they are for you. The last thing you would want is to have someone who has a secure attachment, you're not working on it, and it doesn't work out for that reason or others. So first you have to work on developing your own self and giving yourself the things that you desire from others. So if you have an anxious, preoccupied style, working on giving yourself the things that you desire from others is going to be really important here. And it takes time, and it's going to feel really, really strange at first and very robotic. But that is why it's important to work with somebody who's neutral, who can help you through this, who can keep you accountable, someone outside of yourself. And then once you do this, you view that your friendships, your relationships, all of your relationships start to change. And sometimes this is for the better, because you start to notice things that you didn't notice before, and you actually attract more secure individuals into your life. So now that we've gone through the 4 different attachment styles, which one do you resonate with the most? And how will you start to go towards that secure attachment within your life? What are the things that you're going to try to implement? What have you implemented that has worked for you? Share it in the comments below so that we can support other people who are here as well. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you subscribed and liked, or share this with someone else who you think may find this helpful. And also, I encourage you to watch this video right here. Take care.